Hey everyone, welcome back to Outspoken. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been listening for a while, you know we don't shy away from the real stuff.
Today we're talking about something that's quiet but devastating. Male loneliness. Not just being alone, but feeling invisible, unwanted, and emotionally exiled.
As social media and AI replaces real relationships and digital validation takes the place of real intimacy, more and more men are finding themselves disconnected emotionally, socially, and spiritually.
Today we're exploring what's behind this growing epidemic of loneliness among men, the decline of male friendships, the impact of screen addiction, and how tech culture is quietly starving men of purpose and connection.
Stick around as we unpack the cost of being always connected and yet profoundly alone. This is men's isolation and the digital disconnect. Hey guys, welcome back. It is Joe and Jay Outspoken. So listen guys, before we get started, make sure and smash that like button, subscribe to Outspoken, share the show with everyone you know, and hit that bell icon to get notified when we update new episodes. Really helps the algorithm Tuesday. Every single Tuesday.
Yeah.
Don't forget, put it on your calendar. We do.
Yeah, we have to.
All right, Joe, getting this kicked off. I mean, you and I know something about this because we are dudes and we have to deal with.
Last I checked,
yeah. They haven't changed our identities and sexuality yet. They're trying.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. So what do you think is, obviously it's social media has had a huge impact on loneliness and this has affected men quite a bit, but it's affected everybody, kids and
correct,
adults alike. What do you think it is about social media that has created all this? What's your opinion on it?
So I think there's a couple of factors, but I think the biggest factor is the fact that social media started to develop, as you know, when you and I were younger, like way younger, I think the first impact we got on social media was like AOL, right? You were able to like have a little instant messaging and things like that. And then that graduated into, you were able to have like your own little homepage. You had music, MySpace, right? So MySpace, and then that blew up into Facebook, and it blew up into Instagram and X, and now the tickety talk. So it was growing, but I think what caused the blow up was the pandemic. And there's so many, and I know we guys talk about it. You guys are like, you probably sick of us talking about that, and sometimes I'm sick talking about it because I feel like there was so many things that stemmed from not the pandemic itself, but what happened during that pandemic is where we were all isolated from each other. As humans, we were created to interact with each other, to talk, to read each other. You go into an interview. You've been in retail for years, Jay, and so have I. When you do interviews, when you have someone that you want to hire, you read them. You see how they're sitting, how they're talking, how they're responding,
their demeanor.
Correct. When you go into, let's say, a party or you go into a meeting, you read the room, right? You hear that, hey, read the room, watch what you're saying, right? Because you kind of, you take a glance, you start to say, all right, let me get a feel for what's going on here. What's the mood here? What are they talking about? Is that one of those they-them meeting, or is it one of those like, hey, there's no HR here, let's do what we thought. So you read the room. But here's the thing. Because of that isolation, we had a lot of kids being born. We had young kids in there, and we had teens, and now they're adults, these teenagers, and they did not learn to interact, right? The only interaction there was their parents, and they probably got sick of dealing with them because they were in the house 24/7. So where'd they go? To their bedrooms. What'd they have? Besides calling their friends, because, we don't do that anymore. You don't have those long cords to get on the phone and talk to your friends.
Right.
You text. There's the one disconnect. We don't have those phone calls where you're talking, you're feeling emotions, you're hearing someone voice crack when they're sad, or your joy of laughter when they're happy. There's the number one disconnect, text messaging, right? We've become so impersonal with people that we just text, right? And we send a little, you want to know my feelings? Here's an emoji. Even though you're not happy and you're lying behind that screen, you're going to send a happy emoji, right? Because you don't want people to stress about it or whatever.
Right.
So that's the one disconnect. Second disconnect now comes where you're not interacting with the opposite sex, right? So then you start, I feel, this is again my opinion, then you start feeling, why am I not connecting with him? Is it something about me? You don't know, right? But then what do you have social media telling you? You don't belong in that body. You're not stuck in that body. You could be a woman if that's you feel like being a woman, and all these confusion starts happening in social media. People start turning to social media for guidance. People start looking, right? It starts with the first little post on social media. We're running out of toilet paper, and a pandemic of toilet paper began, right? So it's almost incredible, and it's almost irresponsible of people to start doing these things, but they do it anyway. And you see trends happening. You see just so many things. There's some dangerous trends, there's some funny trends, and there's some very sad ones. I think now social media has become the center of human connectivity, and that is sad. Why? Because men do not know how to speak to women. Men don't know how to speak to other men. Men don't even know how to speak to themselves, right? And we've lost all sorts of connections in that time frame, right? Because now we have a crazy amount of dating apps as well. You have transgender dating apps, old people, the silver lining old people dating apps, the racial.
That's the one you're on.
I'm in the silver lining, bro, because I'm between heaven and earth right now. I'm old, bro. You know what I mean? I'm trying to find angels. So then
we're at the end of the third quarter, man.
Right,
we're at the end of the third quarter.
Oh my god! And then you have racial dating apps, right? When I mean racial, I mean like all black or all Hispanic or all kind of apps. You have gay ones, you have animal ones, whatever. Look, man, you just have all kinds of apps going out there, and it's crazy.
Dating for your cats,
right? Yeah, you probably do. But here's
it's probably out there,
right? But here's the thing: you hit one of those apps, you go to those apps, and what happens? You find someone you like or you don't like. Swipe left, swipe right, whatever, and then you have a bio. You read about them. You don't interact with them. You read about them. Then you're like, I don't like that. Oh, she has cats. Oh, she doesn't like this. She doesn't like that. And then you swipe left, right? And you find one that you connect. And then what do? You message them. We've disconnected from society in a huge way. And I think that leads to a lot of things, a decline in Christianity, an increase in mental health issues. There's just so many factors that come from that. And social media, again, creates this black hole where once you get in there, and let me tell you, man, and I'm not lying, I found myself losing sleep because I was scrolling through social media. And of course, mine, algorithms, we all know those. Mine's all like Christianity and guns, like really American, bro. And so I'm up at 2 a.m. checking out these beautiful guns that are just calling my name, right? And it's just sad. Because you realize, like, I got to go to work in 4 hours, and I'm on social media looking at guns, right? And little funny memes about Mexicans, and so you have to stop and say, "What am I doing?" And then
absolutely,
and then you go and you start talking to people in the real world, and all of a sudden you don't know how to interact with people. You know how many people out there, bro, that I see in coffee shops, that I see in restaurants, that I see in supermarkets that are very awkward. They can't even have an interchange with the cashier or with someone that's working there. Like, they're so odd. They can't look them in the eye. They can't. There's so many things. And so back to the question, I think that that social media has just become a black hole for men that they can't get out of it. Like, the gravity is so strong, they can't pull away from it. And they live their lives on that, man. And it gets lonely and it gets like depressing. Well, you got to break out of that. And it's just an incredible feeling. And I got caught by it, but for a moment. And then you know what I did? I started putting timers on my apps. After 2 hours, that thing shuts off. And I'm like, I mean, you could bypass it, but I don't. I'm like, that's it. I put 2 hours. I'm done with my social media for the day. And that's what we have to do. But, the fact that today we're going to talk about men's loneliness, and one of the things that we have to bring up, and that's very significant and very important, I think, is that men are significantly more likely to report a chronic loneliness than women are. As a society, when you're walking the streets or when you're looking at these memes, do you ever see anything talking about men's loneliness? No, you don't. You talk about women, right? I'm so lonely. My God, I got my pumpkin spice latte by myself. My girlfriend couldn't come, and I feel so sad. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what are we talking?
Why did it have to be pumpkin spice,
bro? It's a season. You gotta look,
why
bro.
is it so spicy?
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. That women have, that's their thing, and they want to post about it. They want the world to know, and men are over here just kind of laughing about it, posting other stuff, but they're lonely, bro. They don't. How manly is it to post? I feel lonely today. You know what I mean? If a man says it versus a woman, a man is looked at as someone that wants to do self-harm when he says that.
Right.
When a woman says it, it's like, girlfriend, I got you. Let's go out tonight.
Yeah.
Ciao. You know what I mean?
Oh, queen, we got you, queen.
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
Yeah. How often do you hear one guy call another guy a king?
I mean, I call you queen, but not king. You know what I mean? But that's for different reasons. How you doing?
It's queen of your heart. It's queen of your heart. Yeah. It's pretty remarkable how society has changed so much to where, men used to be looked at as you were supposed to be tough. That was respected. And now it's not respected. It's one of those things that it's what has made men so confused over time is exactly what you were talking about, Joe. All you do all day is scroll on social media, and you're supposed to fit in this little bubble of whatever this AI world is, basically. And that's what it's become. Now, if you try to act like a man, an actual red-blooded man, this has nothing to do with color, where you come from, language, nothing like that. Just being a man in this world, you are now toxically masculine. So now guys don't have a place to fit in. It's like, well, you need to be more in touch with your feminine side. We don't have that wiring like women do to be connected that way. And one of the stats you gave was about the loneliness of men. By the age of 30, male friendships sharply decline and many never recover.
Yeah.
In a 2023 survey found that 15% of men said they had no close friends. In 1990, that number was just 3%. So why is it nowadays that we are so much more isolated? So something that I did this last week.
We're going to talk about that?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. What I did this last week was I started a social media fast.
Okay, so real quick, before we get into your fasting, do me a favor. Can you warn me about these things? You just fell off of social media, and I'm like, is he fine? I'm getting texts like, have you talked to Jay? Is he safe? I'm like, bro, Mark's safe in your location or something. You know what I mean? Like, just warn me. Just warn me next time.
So now think about that. 10 years ago, when there was no social media, how did we know if people were good?
We called them.
Yeah. You said something earlier. We now text people, and if we're on dating sites and things like that, it's a bunch of text. It's mail coming back and forth.
Yeah.
We don't even do handwritten letters anymore, right? You don't. How often do you get
Never. I love to write, and that's sad because people don't write anymore.
That's right. Like, remember? I mean, we used to get Christmas cards and birthday cards and stuff that are sent to you, and now it's just a text with an emoji.
Our love notes to each other.
The ones that you had to pull apart and
bro. And the 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember the remember those? Yeah, complicated.
Yeah, I never knew how to make those, but
I know.
Did you?
No. I was the one picking the number. Pick a number. 4. What you do? 4. I don't know how to make. Girls were sophisticated. They were clearly smarter than us until we caught up.
Way ahead of us. Yeah.
But you're right. In this world that we live in today, we're obsessed with likes. We're obsessed with text.
Right.
We're obsessed with notifications and so-called connections. But let me ask you, Jay, and you asked me, but I'm going to ask you, why are men more isolated than ever before? Why are they? What are some of the things that we are living today? And you hit on a few that we weren't back in our time when what was it? What's changed since then? Because there's a big difference, right, between isolation and loneliness. So isolation is a lack of connection, where loneliness is an emotional fallout, the sense of being unseen. So they're very two different things. And I feel like today we're suffering both pandemics, the isolation and the loneliness. And that's creating, of course, in what we've talked about in our men's edition, it's creating a lot of men going down that dark path, right? And not finding solutions, because social media might have a lot of trends and a lot of likes and a lot of attention driven profiles, but they don't provide answers. And the answers they provide are driven by those individuals who are suffering from their own mental disorder. At the end of the day, all you're building is more. It's just like that snowball effect, right? It just keeps growing and growing as it keeps rolling down, and men can never get out of it. I've never been in a snowball, and I'm sure you never have, but I'm sure that picking up speed, picking up weight, that momentum, you can't get out of it. And I use that analogy of the black hole and the gravitational pull. You can't get out of it. And men today, like you and I, bro, we share a friendship that goes back more than 40 years.
Yeah, decades now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It wasn't until most recently that you and I actually intimately shared information. Because again, we were, living two different lives. I immediately after high school, well, not immediately, closely after high school, I started my family, got married, blah, blah. You went on to further grow your education. You went to the university. So we had two different paths. We remained friends throughout the year. It was touch and go. We'd bump into to each other again, or then we started working together, and it was bump and go for years, and you started coming over. But we maintained that, and this is something that we talked about in previous men's edition, was the fact that as men, we don't share our emotion. We don't share the pain that we go through. But bro, at the end of the day, how do you deal with that, right? How do you figure these things out? I've never in my life have told anyone, I feel lonely.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
Have you?
No. Well, something you and I talked about has been probably a couple years ago now. And we were talking about why haven't we opened up about stuff? One of the big things is we both agreed on the same deal. We don't tell people stuff because we don't want to burden them, right? With our burdens, right? We don't want to add, we're the ones that take on the burden. We don't send the burden out to other people or each other. Women have a thing where they either together or to us, men, they will come and lay down all their woes, the things that troubles they have through the day. And we're not good at doing that, man, because we really don't like to do that. I'm going to backtrack and answer one of the questions you asked earlier was, what do you think it is that making men be so isolated now, right? Lonely is one thing, but isolation is a whole another thing. I think one of the things is a lot of men, especially younger guys, us, we're set in our ways. We're old, we're those guys that are, we don't care what you think about us. We're going to do what we're going to do, right? And men were supposed to have a specific set of goals towards the end of their life, just like women. Okay. Women are to get out of school, find some guy that does decent in life, right? They're supposed to get the house with the white picket fence, have 2.3 kids kind of thing, all that kind of stuff.
Has to be
guys.
White,
what's that?
Has to be a white picket fence. That's cool. No, it's cool.
Well, you can do a purple fence if you want. Listen, white people aren't white. Okay. Look at this. We're pink. Okay. So black people aren't black either. Well, there's a couple in over there.
Yeah.
That are pretty dark.
Mexicans ain't brown either. Oh wait, we are
brown. You look more kind of reddish, brownish.
I'm more
whitish,
of a mocha.
Pinkish.
I'm like a
mocha, yeah. Java, yeah. Closer to a pumpkin spice latte.
Here we go. Anyway.
My spice latte.
Hey, girl.
Guys now have an issue with not having a life-directed goal, right? That's the clock that's built into us. So women have a clock in them, right? Their motherly clock, right? They have a specific time from when they start ovulation to when they kind of can't have kids anymore, right? And that internal clock, they feel that. So there's a period of time from 30 to 40, especially late 20s to 40, they really go into overdrive because they know if they haven't had children, they really need to
get going.
Do that. Right. Now,
get the motor running.
It doesn't mean a woman, get your motor running. So if the woman does not want to have kids, that's a whole different thing. And that's for that's for some ladies out there, that's for their YouTube episode. But for men, the thing is that we have this desire, this drive, this internal clock that we have to make a family and do all these things in an amount of time that we are productive members of society and we are leaders of society, right? And that's the big thing. They've taken away all of that leadership role. How long has the term happy wife, happy life? How long has that been around?
Oh, it's been pretty.
And there's this one video of this guy that's interviewing this girl, and he says, how are you doing today? Are you married? She's like, yes, I'm married.
Rula, are you married?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Is he happy?
Oh, that's a weird question. Usually they ask if I'm happy.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of an interview. I'm just, because he's not here, I want to show my care for him as well. Is he happy? Your answer is yes, no. You don't wanna answer that question?
No.
I think it's okay. I think we got the answer.
Who we?
That's me and the camera guy. You got it, bro?
Yeah.
There is a cultural shift to where women used to stay home and they were excited when their man came home from work, right? Obviously, times have changed. Stuff is different. We get that. But our internal clocks, those things that will never leave us, they won't ever leave us, are still there. And we are denying all of it, right?
Yeah.
And so now, like you said, we sit there because that's one of the reasons I'm doing my social media fasting.
Cleansing.
Is cleansing enema. All right, I went too far with that one, but how do you do a social media enema? You don't want to know.
You don't
Trust
wanna
me, you don't
know.
want to know. Getting away from that, because I recognized on certain days that I spent a lot of time. For those of you that took any kind of psychology courses, even the most basic psychology courses, you heard of Pavlov, and you heard of Pavlov's dog. And what he did was he would ring a bell and feed the dog. Ring a bell, feed the dog. Ring a bell, feed the dog. So he put a sensor in its mouth, and every time he would ring the bell, right before it started to eat, it would salivate more. It would be ready for food. So the experiment, he rang the bell, didn't feed the dog, and it would salivate like it was being ready to be fed. So that simple thing was to show basically now this is our Pavlov experience. We, with social media or text messages, you have a ding or a buzz in your pocket or purse or whatever you carry it in. And what do you have to do immediately? You have to immediately check it because it could be something of dire importance. Of course, it's not. It's your friend posted what they're having for lunch and their pumpkin spice latte and all that kind of stuff. They posted that and, you know, where they're at. And of course, everybody living a life way better than you because, wow, I can't believe the pictures that they took and everything else. And why can't I experience this stuff? But we do the same thing. We take pictures. Hey, wait a minute, set the table, get the drinks and the food in the right spot and make sure you're, oh, I look fat in that. No, take it again before you post it. Everything's being falsified. You know, we're saying as a female, they're saying, I want a real man. And as men, we're like, I want a good woman, a real woman. Yet what are we looking at as guys? And I'm not saying you or I, but I'm just saying as a whole, guys, we're looking at these girls that have went and got these huge butt lifts and stuff and all this kind of crazy crap. And that's the new standard of beauty in the world. So now we are doing a couple different things. We are expecting stuff that is almost impossible. And now women are having personal expectations that they have to go, you know, modify their bodies to be attractive. That's insane. All of these things in conjunction have really created a mess for us mentally. And brother, for you and I, we know this spiritually, man. It's messed people up a lot because even the best people, folks that, and I'm not saying that all people that have a Christian plaque underneath their name doesn't mean they're good people, because there's some people that can claim they're something and they're totally not that. However, some of the best people I know have faltered around these kind of things, right? And I'm one of those people. We had that kind of an experiment that we talked about, 6 months ago or so, where our algorithms, you can change your algorithm on. And Joe and I, by the way, are pretty much just on Instagram. You know, we have Facebooks and all that kind of stuff, but we pretty much stay on the one social media platform. And you can change your algorithm so quickly. We talked about this. If you see, like, you're going through, and mine is, I've got a few things in guns, but it's a lot of like drums and spiritual quotes and all this kind of stuff. And so you see this video or meme or something, and it's of a girl in a bathing suit or something like that. And you click on that, you're done for the next 2 days, man. Because now you're just getting a bunch of those, you know, girls shaking their boobs or whatever. And that's what happens. And it's too easy now for us to go down that slippery slope and get out of control with our algorithm. Yeah. Imagine with social media being like that, what is that doing to our, you know, our cortex? What is that creating in all of this, in our heart and our mind, that now we're expecting these kind of things to show us pleasure, right? Which is visual pleasure, a stimulus of some sort. Again, that bell goes off, that vibration or whatever it is, the little red dot. We all know what that is, you know, on the app, and you got the little red dot above it that says, hey, you've got something's going on. And somebody,
your notifications.
Yeah, your notifications. Somebody tagged you in something or whatever the case is. Maybe you have a message or whatever. And again, we have to rush to that. And here's the thing. We've seen this over the last, especially within this decade here, with the young kids that get very, very ultra depressed because they're not getting likes on their pictures, right? Yeah. And especially for young girls, it's really bad. So they post a picture and they're not getting enough likes, so they think they're ugly or not good enough or whatever. So coming back to the whole men's thing, we have that same deal, just in a whole different zone inside of social media, and then all of media in general. You know, it's not cool to be a guy. If you're a guy and you do any guy stuff, like we're gun guys, we like to go out in the desert and go shooting and stuff like that. Well, that's very toxic of us to do that, you know. So these are things that guys that don't have thick skin or are younger and they're still trying to find their way. Maybe they're just starting off in life, getting married or what have you. They may not be able to handle some of those things as well as other guys can. And again, being able to handle things means that you are going to have some of those traits that they consider toxic masculinity, which it's not to us, right? We think it's just being a normal guy. If you're one of these guys that's sensitive to all that kind of stuff and you care about women and the environment and, the ground squirrel in northern Tennessee or something like that, then these are the guys that are going to be affected the most by these kind of things. And there's been tons of studies done on this. And I don't want to make this, because I don't believe this is really a political thing. However, people that are in the different political zones, there is a happiness and an unhappiness divide. Big time. And people that do identify more on the left side of the aisle have like twice the unhappiness that people on the right side of the aisle have. Now, why is that? Well, because they are filled and filtered with so many of these depressing things, right? They're the ones that are told to take the most medication. They're the ones that have the most issues with gender dysphoria. All these kind of things usually pile up on that side of the fence. It's not a political thing. It is an ideal thing. When you look at different countries and stuff like that and the ideologies that they have that have ruined those countries, we are creating our own little micro ideology systems that are really, it's detrimental to our society and to men as a whole.
Here's a problem that I see, Jay, and I hear what you're saying as far as the political aspect of it. It makes a lot of sense. Let's go back a little bit, and and there's going to be a point to this, so just remind me if I start getting off track. But to what you were saying, as men, macho men, chest and hair in the chest kind of man, right? We've been culturally trained to repress emotion, to man up, to handle it, to suck it up. The reward is what we get emotional numbness, and we've talked about this in past episodes. How we disconnect because we're sad, we're depressed, we become isolated, and then we disconnect from the world, right? Because we have these thoughts that we don't know what to do with them. Replace deep friendship, meaningful deep friendships, with what we call functional acquaintances, and we don't have time to meet for coffee, bro, but we'll spend like hours on Reddit or on YouTube watching videos. Or it's funny because when people want to learn something, they go to YouTube. I'm going to learn how to love myself. I'm going to get a self-help video. They'll sit there for hours watching it and apply nothing because they'll just go watch another video, right? Right. But the purpose that men do that is because it doesn't require vulnerability. And we don't want to be vulnerable. Men refuse to be vulnerable in every way. The real danger is that we mistake comfort for connection. And it's killing us inside slowly, every single one of us. Now to the comeback, to the reach around, if you will. It's that you...
Of course you would. Of course you would.
Look, man, I don't write this stuff, bro. It just comes to me. Anyway.
Blame our producer.
Yeah. So the reach around in this is that you did mention the thing about the political sides. But here's the thing with social media. What I'm looking at and what someone in Ecuador, El Salvador, New Guinea is looking at the same thing. They're all looking at the same thing. So it has crossed political boundaries, it's past social boundaries, it's past all kinds of boundaries out there. We're all now connected. Like, I don't know if you remember seeing these cartoons where they're fixed on the TV and everybody's all connected to one thing and everybody sees the same thing, right? That's what's happening to us. We're all connected. It doesn't matter what side. I mean, why do you think that politicians go to social media? Because they could relay their information not just to the United States, but to the world. And the world can now hate Donald Trump, not just America. So that's the scary part about it, is it's not isolated to America. It's crossed borders and boundaries. And although we say we're securing the border is secure, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to tell you this, but the border is secure. But you know what isn't? Our social media. Our sanity is not secure, and it's in danger of getting lost. You men, you out there, you know who I'm talking to. You are getting destroyed from the inside out. And that's important, because although you might live in an isolated box thinking that nothing could reach me, everything is reaching you. You're falling for everything. We have to have a disconnect. Jay's doing an excellent job, and I think I'm doing a better job in disconnecting from these social media platforms, right? So like dating apps, the swipe culture is ridiculous in that, right? It reduces people's to profile and pictures. I look at somebody and I'm just looking at their picture and profile. Like, I don't see their smile, or if I do, it's a fake smile, right? Because it's a picture. Right. You could put anything. I could put bullet points on there, bro, and I'll tell you I'm the best man in the world, that I'm going to take you to dinner every Friday, that I'm going to wash your feet, and I'm going to massage you. And those are all lies. I ain't telling you any of this. You know what I want. Come at me, girl. But here's the thing. Men are able to not deal with rejection. They don't have to. Why? Because if no one contacts me, they're not interested. They're not rejecting me. They're just, the right one's not for me. So at worst, they've become invisible. Again, the process of dehumanizing, and a message is clear, you're not enough, right? So what do? We go to another dating app, right? We go from one to another one to finally we go to like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to Plenty of Fish because I know I'm going to get me some nook and cranny there. You know what I mean? Because everybody gets it.
Some nooks and crannies.
Everybody gets
man.
the English muffin.
And I know it sounds like
plenty of fish.
English-
All right, bro.
All right.
Look, man.
And
look,
this
look.
week's sponsor is...
All right, look, I don't know, but you know me. I'm always I'm making analogies of food because I love to eat. So
we do love to eat.
we do. So anyway, social media platforms, they give the illusion of connection, right? With the likes, with the comments, with the hearts. You mentioned earlier, you go queen, right? If someone who you absolutely know nothing about, but they tell you a quick 30-second story about their lives. Oh my God, my man did this, this, and this, which could be all a lie. And she probably doesn't even have a man, or has a man and he's the nicest guy in the world, but she's just putting on there that he's the worst man ever. Why? Because you get likes, you get comments. You're so beautiful. You go queen. You go, you do you, boo.
You don't need him. You don't need him.
Right.
His toxicness.
Right. But all those interactions are shallow. People don't mean it. People just want to be nice. They're like, I'm going to give you one. But then you got the ones that are just hilarious and give you all kinds of comments like, girl, maybe you shouldn't eat that torta. You know what I mean? Like, cut it down. Don't, you know what I'm saying? But they
shouldn't have ate those last 5 tortas.
You should have cut down. You should have gone with just a carne asada torta, plain as they come. The thing is that people are not seeing your soul. They're not seeing your interaction.
Right.
They're not seeing how you react to something, how you see me behind a screen. Dude, if it wasn't for filters, I don't think I would have gone on many dates, bro. These filters, I'm like 7 foot. I weigh 120 pounds, looking sexy as hell, right? You know what I mean, man? People use these filters and they get catfish. Meanwhile, people are comparing life with everyone's highlight reel. That's them. Like, oh my God, look at this dude has a fabulous life. What it's doing, it slowly eats your self-worth. If you don't get those, you know what? It's like any trend. What happens after a trend dies? They go on to the next one. And eventually the trend that you are, will pass too. And then here's the worst one. The worst social media platform is the porn and the parasocial relationships, right? Those things just get darker. And here's the thing. Women, men, any kind of person, they're out there in social media and they're able to tell who's the lonely person out there. They'll friend request you, and then before you know, like, oh, I saw your profile, you're so cute, oh my God. And you're talking for days. Next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, I don't have money for power. Can you send me $100? You're like, you got jack fool. You know what I mean? Like, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
The reality of these things is that these relationships are all one-sided and they're transactional. That's what they are. They're one-sided relationships. They're all transactional. There's no mutual growth. There's no challenge. There's no emotional depth. It's horrible. But what happens to man's morality? What happens to their self-worth when they come across things like that? It goes deeper. It falls deeper than what it already was. And they get to the point where now they're just isolated. They're lonely. Depression sits in. Everything that could go wrong is wrong. And we have to change that. And I think you agree with me, Jay, if I tell you that there's this saying in Spanish, I don't know how to say it in English, but like, you have to do everything. You have to measure everything. You can't just hold yourself with everything because then it turns bad. A few drinks, not bad. 14 drinks, really bad. A couple of girls a year, not bad. 15 girls a year, gonorrhea, sexual transmitted disease, maybe no more pee-pee. Everything in excess is bad. Everything in excess is bad. Social media is no different. Too much social media is bad for people. They lose sense of belonging, man. You disconnect from people. You disconnect from your family. You disconnect from yourself. You no longer could think for yourself because what happens with social media? I'm going through this horrible thing. You know what? I'm going to put it on Reddit, see what they say. Or, you know what? This has happened to me. What's the trend on Tickety Talk? What are they doing? Oh, they're doing this for that. You're getting answers from a bunch of crazy people already. They're already crazy. They're disloyal. I see all these, like, people are starting to put on trends about cheating. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? That's a trend? How to get away with cheating? We've lost all kinds of dignity and humanity and morality, and it's horrible. I think what as men need a disconnect. And I'm talking just for the men. Men need a disconnect from social media, and they need to start going out there making true real life friends. Jay,
Yep.
you and I try to get together at least once a week to go out to have dinner. We call it dinner, but it's food fest, right? Because we're two fat fatties. And we'll go out, we'll have some dinner.
Yeah,
We'll
I mean, eating at every single one of the food trucks at the event that's not what you're supposed to do.
what? Here we go. Here
we go.
But you know,
Judgy.
we'll go have dinner. We'll stop by the cigar lounge, have a cigar, have some drinks, chit chat, man, connect, talk about what's going on in my life, talk about what's going on with you, how we're feeling, our likes, our dislikes, our connectivity, the people we've met, the people in our lives, the impacts that are happening. And most recently, we had a deep conversation, right? These are the things that we do as men. Where before, we wouldn't do that. Before, I'd just I'll bring you a new chick. And you're like, who is this? Right? But you wouldn't ask who is this. But I'd be like, hey, look at this girl, bro. All right, yeah, I'm moving. What? You know what I mean?
Man,
So
why you have to bring up old stuff for?
Why? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why he said that, Jay. And I got to be honest with you. It's because we as men have to learn to start being vulnerable. As men, we have to start talking and speaking truth with one another. And as sad as that may seem, I want to be vulnerable. But to a point, I don't be vulnerable where I'm weak. I think being vulnerable makes you stronger. It makes you a person that's not hiding behind macho-ness, who's willing to put his face ahead of his shame, and say, look, man, I made poor decisions, bro. And now I'm trying to make better ones. This is what I got. What do you think? There's nothing wrong with asking for a little guidance, right?
No,
because
there's
if anyone's been there for anyone, it's been you. For me, you know my secrets, even the dark ones now. And even though before you never shared your opinion, you have now. That's the thing that we're missing in brotherhood. We don't have that anymore.
Right.
And we have to find that. We have to come back to it and say, hey, bro, let me tell you something. And we shouldn't be ashamed of this. We should say, hey, bro, look, you're acting a little pissy. I don't know what's going on. Are you good? But we should be okay with that. We shouldn't we shouldn't be like, oh, he's gonna get mad at me and not talk to me, right? Or like, hey, bro, I met this girl. She's really cool. Well, you know what? Let's hang out. And then you're like, I don't like her. We have to be able to say that. But
and it's true.
Why don't you like her? Well, bro, she was rude. She, and blah, blah, blah. Or, I think you guys would do good, but you don't move so fast. Slow it down. Whatever the case is, we should be able to talk to each other as men about manly stuff, be vulnerable with each other, and stop hiding from shame. I think it's key, and we need to do it. Yeah. What do you think?
I agree. And I think I'll leave it at this. One of the things that you have to find is your key relationships. So I'm going to take us back to guns, right? So you have a gun safe, right? And you and I trust each other with each other's gun safe combos. If I go to prison or die or jail or whatever, first thing you do, come over, get all of them out of there, right? Because I don't want those going to the state or anything like that. Now, think about this. We have that kind of relationship, right?
Yeah.
Where we can talk and all those kind of things. How many people would you give that combination to? Nobody. So there's the key thing is your key relationships that you have. And as men, we have to build those kind of relationships that you will give. And this is just an analogy, guys. People that you would give your most sacred combinations to. And if you know there's people you're like, heck no, I wouldn't give them the combination of my cookie jar, let alone my gun safe, right?
I got your combination of cookie jar.
I knew you were going to say that. That's one that's got all the Girl Scout cookies in it. So that's a really big, important thing is to have those relationships that are so trusting. Guys, I mean, hey, Joe and I...
real quick, I hate to cut you off, but don't forget what you're going to say. Right now, this moment, who has keys to my house?
Your kids and me.
And who has access to your house?
You, my mom and aunt.
Yeah. Do you normally give that to people? No. There's a small circle, right? And it just goes to show that safe analogy, there's a real life thing that happens between you and I, and that's that we have access to each other's homes,
Right.
And we don't have to worry about you're going to come over, ask, just walk in. That's what we do, right? So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's perfect segue into, I think that there's a huge disconnect is that there's most guys that are watching this right now, they probably don't have another guy friend that they would trust with the keys to their house, the code to their house, the code to their gun safe, that kind of thing. And that's disheartening, man. We consider each other family anyways. There's people that wouldn't even trust their own family to that kind of access or information. So it is really tough. And I think that is one of those things. If that's considered toxic, I think men need to get back to a toxic masculine relationships, right? Where we trust each other to the ends of the earth, and you got to find that person person that you can have conversations with, but also get out there in the real world. Bro, there are people that I have been either on Insta or texting or stuff for so long, from years ago, from the other state and everything. I don't remember what they sound like. I haven't talked to them in so long. I do not remember what their voices sound like, but yet I still keep in contact through texting and stuff like that. And now, for acquaintances and stuff, that's fine. But again, these are analogies showing you how distant we get from one another, and we forget the humanity of relationships and things like that, and how important it is to pick up the phone once in a while, to pick up a pen and a piece of paper and write stuff down and actually snail mail it to somebody, right? Because these are things that they're lost arts, and all of these in combination are the reason that we are becoming the way we are, why we are so distant, why we are so cold, because our relationships are distant and cold and meaningless, because it's all we do is, instead of, hey bro, how was your day? How was your week? How's your month been? How's your family going? This and that. Now I'm sending you a meme of a cat smacking flowers off a deal and hits the owner in the head or something. Yeah. And it's totally what everybody does now. So, and how cold is that? So now your focus isn't even on the person. It's now on the meme or whatever the thing is that's going on. So anyways, guys, really think about people that you truly cherish in your life and really foster those relationships and get to a point where you have trust with a couple people in your life. Because if you're truly that isolated, it's going to be so tough for you to get through difficult or important things in your life. You need somebody that's close to you that, like Joe said, that you can go to for advice. And maybe they don't 100% of the time give you the perfect advice that you needed, but boy, I tell you what, it's a lot better. Yeah. And it's better to have somebody else, a second opinion. If a doctor told you had to have a body part taken off or taken out or whatever, I would definitely want a second opinion, right? I'm not going to just go with the one person's opinion. So,
So find a friend. Don't be gay. That's all I'm saying.
And this was Joe and Jay.
I mean, you're gay if you don't find a friend, is what I'm saying. Not that if you find a friend, you're gay. Clearly. And by gay, I mean happy. All right, let's be happy. Let's find friends. And look, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Me and Jay are in our late stages of sexiness. We will continue to be friends. In fact, Jason and I think, have gotten closer than we have in years past. And I think it's important because it's allowing me to be a better person, because I have another man who's willing to listen to me, who's not judging me, and who tells me straight up, you're being a chonch, or you're doing good, or
that's exactly how I say it.
Or try this or try that. Because, a lot of times when we're in our own mess, in our own mind, we don't see outside of that. And we need someone from the outside, a good friend, that's going to tell you the truth and say, don't be a chonch, right? And don't move and stay here because you're a chonch. So that's enough chonch for today, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to my chonch friend. Okay.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us once again. Before we get out of here, make sure and smash that like button, subscribe to Outspoken, share the show with everyone you know, and hit the bell icon to get updated when we upload new episodes, especially today. Make sure you take care of one another.
And remember, do better, be better.
And as always,
God bless America. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good week.
See you next Tuesday. Let's go.